Hey, welcome back. This mini lecture's titled Indifferent Influencers Erosion of Online Knows. The focus of the video is the motivations for and impact on fake news of these fake news influencers. It's based on Subramanian's article, Fake News Farms in Macedonia. It's inside the Macedonian Fake-News Complex. Basically, it talks about the transformation of Veles, a small town, a post-industrial town in Macedonia, to a fake news hotbed. It used to be a porcelain manufacturing hotbed, and then, like a lot of post-industrial places, lost a lot of employment. So there's a lot of people not doing well economically. And the reason the focus of it is that the town had a number of fake news websites that amplified the 2016 U.S. presidential election news, and I use news in italics because it's more fake news. And the influencers, and I'm calling the influencers, they're not like traditional ones like a Kardashian or a Jenner, but they're the people that kind of sort of drove these websites. Like, it's the people behind it. Influencers seem to be the best term. They were mainly young, unemployed men who just really didn't have a better employment, so they chose to do this. There's a short video to introduce it called The Fake News Factory of Macedonia, talking pictures with GuyMartin, who is a Wired magazine photo correspondent. Here are some quotes from Subramanian's article. These Macedonians, again, mainly young men, on Facebook didn't care if Trump won or lost the White House. They only wanted pocket money to pay for things, a car, watches, better cell phones, more drinks at the bar. So as a result of it, as you can see based on my sort of quick intro to the article, and please feel free to read it yourself, it's a good article, there wasn't really a political agenda that drove these people. It was really their perilous economic situation that drove the influencers. So they wanted money for various things, and you know what? Can't find employment in the porcelain factory. Let's start a fake news site. This is the following quote in the same article. This is the arrhythmic, disturbing heart of the affair, that the internet made it so simple for these young men to finance their material whims, and that their actions helped deliver such momentous consequences. Again, part of the theme for it was the fake news of these young men, or I think the 2016, they're arguing that it influenced the election results. Again, you can buy that or not, but just like that, at least it had some influence. You know, some people read more fake news. Whether that changed their vote is a different story, but it definitely was part of the information ecosystem. As a result, again, similar to the last slide, these influencers were pretty indifferent to the political impact. The way they were presented, they just really didn't care. It's just, oh, people are into this, I can make money off it. Great. Again, this is sort of this next quote sort of drives how the revenue is generated. Quote, companies used to designate exactly where they wanted their ads to appear. Now they increasingly rely on automated advertising, a system that matches ads to itemized profiles of consumers based on data like what they've searched for. So as a result, this is, again, more back in 2016. And automated advertising, like these things always get more and more sophisticated, and now it seems like various platforms have moved away from surfacing fake news, but not necessarily so. But basically, you know, what role does automated advertising play in fake news if it's basically just matching, you know, content to people who want to see ads for it? Like, again, the algorithms that do that are pretty agnostic. It's just basically, oh, here's content. You like that content? Here's that content. And from that, I wonder what role platforms and potentially governments play in fake news. Like, should platforms be policing this? Should governments take a hand if platforms aren't doing it? Once a government or a regulator gets involved, I'm sure, as you'd imagine if you follow the divisive political landscape, that will cause problems, because once you take away quote-unquote fake news, then you might be silencing one side of the spectrum. Here's a quick query for your friend. This is, again, stats from the article. What percentage of Americans trust the information they get from local news, friends and family, national news, or social media? So based on those things, those four different sources, again, what percentage of Americans trust the information they get from the source? What do you think might be the highest? What do you think might be the lowest? You might want to pause to think about that, maybe come up with a percentage. Here's the answer, friends. 82% prefer local news, 77% prefer friends and family. 76% prefer national news, and 34% have social media. That's according to Pew Research, which is a pretty reputable polling and research company. So again, you see how this plays out. But one of the problems, of course, is that social media is used often to deliver news, whether it's local or national. So I wonder what role that plays in this. Like, if you just trust social media, but you also trust maybe your friends and family, what happens when they share news from people you trust? Like, again, friends and family, but they share it via social media. Does that decrease the trust? Here's a site that I'm going to show you in just a second. Have you heard of the following website? And if so, what are your thoughts on it? It's called the Buffalo Chronicle. What do you think about it, even just looking at it? As you see, it deals with Buffalo, northern New York, and it deals with news in Buffalo, Niagara, Albany, so state politics, New York City, more local, Washington local, but probably federal, but also Canada as a whole. The reason I bring it up is that I was when I originally was reading the story. It kind of made me think about some fake news that came out. If you just look at the sort of the way the site looks, it looks pretty not like a great website. Like, it looks pretty cheap. It doesn't look like a high-end website. But some people buy it, and especially with those who have not particularly sophisticated internet skills. From a BuzzFeed article. Quote, Matthew Ricciazzi has written debunked stories about Canadian politics and once told a U.S. candidate he'd publish negative articles about their opponents for $400 apiece. I'm not, here to criticize the Buffalo Chronicle. I'm just sharing some information according to BuzzFeed. What you see is you have these amoral influencers, in this case a journalist, or a quote-unquote journalist, who will actually create disinformation, negative articles about that opponent for not that much money. The reason I bring this up is that I was looking through the website and I saw some articles that there were some scandalous Canadian news that was amplified, and then I saw it repeated in more of a public setting, like a political setting, like a public like the Canadian Parliament. It made me think about that story, which had its roots in the Buffalo Chronicle and has since been debunked. But when it's been used in public by politicians, it's obviously using what turned out to be fake news in real life settings, and then I think it sanitizes that fake news message. And then from this, again, I don't want people to get their backs up, but it's just like a question for you. Is there a substantial difference between the Buffalo Chronicle pay for disinformation, where someone's can pay directly a journalist, and presumably in Buffalo area, to write just a fake news story, versus the Macedonian Fake-News Complex, where indirectly through Google Ad News and whatever else, people are still getting paid to write fake stuff, because fake news is usually sells and more, in the sense that it gets more people to watch. You get higher revenues because engagement's higher. So, is there really much of a difference between the two? Like, we can often go, shame on those young men making fake news in Macedonia, but people in Buffalo or at least who are working for this paper, at least one of them is doing this. It's really much of a difference. That's up for you to decide, friend. That was Indifferent Influencers, the Erosion of Online News. My name is Dino. Thanks for watching. Please like this video. Please feel free to comment. Do you think that these quote-unquote influencers have an influence on our online news ecosystem? If so, is it great? Is it over-exaggerated? How do we deal with fake news? Do we need the platforms to be involved? Do we need the government to be involved? Do we need a third party to be involved? Regardless, again, please feel free to like this video. Please feel free to comment, and please feel free to subscribe to this channel if you like this type of information. Thanks a lot.